There's a certain kind of silence that only people who laugh everything off ever hear. It comes right after the joke, right after the room softens, right after everyone smiles because you made it easier for them. And then when the moment passes, there's a small, private echo inside you. A quiet ache that asks, why do you always do that? Most people think the ones who laugh everything off are carefree, lighthearted, unbothered. They call them chill, easy, fun, the kind of people who don't take life too seriously. But that assumption misses something important, because the truth is rarely that simple. It's not that they don't feel deeply, it's that they feel so much, so intensely, so quickly, that laughter becomes the closest exit, not immaturity, not denial, not irresponsibility, but a survival strategy shaped by tenderness. This is the hidden loneliness of the people who smile through hurt, who turn pain into punchlines, who hide bruises behind jokes. And maybe you are one of them. Most people think humor equals happiness. They assume that if someone laughs, they must be fine. If they make jokes, they must be okay. If they're always on, always entertaining, always keeping things light, then surely they're not hurting. But the psychology of humor is far more complex than that. There's a kind of laughter that isn't about joy at all. It's about protection. A soft shield made of sound. A way to control how much of your inner world others get to see. In psychology, there's a concept called emotional masking, where someone hides their real feelings to maintain harmony or to avoid burdening others. Humor is one of the most socially acceptable masks in the world. People applaud it, they encourage it, they depend on it, which makes it even harder to put down. So when someone uses humor to escape tense moments or painful conversations, most people don't question it. They laugh with you and never look beneath the surface. But that's where the truth lies, because beneath the laughter is often a heart carrying things quietly, softly, and alone. Maybe you're the kind of person who got good at laughing things off because it seemed easier than explaining how you felt. Maybe you learned early that when you made people smile, they stayed close to you. When you made them comfortable, they treated you kindly. When you lightened the mood, the room didn't explode. Maybe you weren't rewarded for honesty. Maybe vulnerability didn't feel safe. Maybe people around you never listened long enough to understand you without the joke to soften your truth. Maybe you've spent years being the funny one, the easy one, the one who doesn't get offended, the one who can take it. But deep in your chest, there's a version of you no one meets. A version that feels things you never say. A version that wishes someone would ask, "Are you actually okay?" And mean it. Truly mean it. If you've ever felt like your laughter is misunderstood, like you're carrying something alone behind your smile, this is for you. You're not invisible. You're not dramatic for wanting to be seen. You're human, and your pain is real, even when you laugh through it. Humor is one of the earliest emotional tools many sensitive people develop. Some grew up in homes where conflict erupted without warning, where a wrong tone, a small mistake, or an honest emotion could trigger something frightening, where the safest thing you could do was to break the tension before it broke you. Others grew up with parents who were too overwhelmed to hold space for their feelings, so they learned not to add to the stress. They became the child who comforted, who balanced, who soothed, the child who learned that their pain was less important than keeping the peace. This is where another psychological concept comes in. Fawning, a survival pattern, where someone reduces their own needs to avoid conflict or abandonment. For many people who laugh everything off, fawning doesn't look like obedience. It looks like comedian energy, being charming, being agreeable, being low maintenance. Humor becomes a way to manage the emotional weather around them, to prevent storms, to keep everyone else okay, so that they might survive the day. And because they became so skilled at it so young, it eventually becomes automatic, instinctive, a reflex. But here's the hidden wound. When you're the one who always makes everything lighter, there's rarely anyone who helps you carry what's heavy. On the outside, people who left everything off seem comfortable in social settings. They know how to tell stories, how to break silence, how to soften awkward moments. Their timing is quick, their sarcasm subtle, their self-deprecation disarming. But inside, social interactions can feel exhausting. One reason for this is hypervigilance, a state where the nervous system is always scanning for danger, tension, or disapproval. Hypervigilant people become experts at reading microexpressions, tone shifts, and the emotional temperature of a room. Instead of genuinely enjoying the moment, they're calculating, scanning, monitoring. They notice the slight change in someone's posture, the breath someone holds before responding, the look on a face when a conversation gets too serious. And before discomfort can bloom, they break it with humor. Not because they're carefree, but because they care too much, because they're scared of saying the wrong thing, or being too much, or making someone uncomfortable, or being a disappointment. So they say something funny to erase the worry, to reset the moment, to feel safe again. But safety purchased through self-silencing is never really safety. It's a temporary truce with your own discomfort. And when the night is over and they're alone, the exhaustion hits. The effort it took to manage everyone else's emotions leaves a heaviness that laughter can't dissolve. One of the most misunderstood experiences of people who laugh everything off is the quiet war inside them. On one side is the part of them that needs connection, the part that craves being understood, the part that longs to tell someone actually that hurt. But on the other side is the part shaped by years of being told they're too sensitive, or dramatic, or ruining the vibe. So instead of saying what they feel, they turn it into a joke, a soft lie wrapped in humor, a truth told sideways, pain covered in glitter so no one notices the bruise inside it. Psychologically, this is connected to avoidant emotional coping, pushing feeling away instead of facing them, because facing them feels dangerous or pointless. The shadow side of this coping style is deep loneliness, because when you're the one who transforms your own pain into entertainment, people laugh instead of listening. They appreciate the show but miss the message. But there's also a gift hidden in the struggle. People who use humor to cope often carry extraordinary emotional intelligence. They sense the emotional needs of others before those needs are spoken. They understand tension intuitively. They know how to turn heaviness into light. They can make people feel held without ever touching them, make people feel understood without ever mentioning themselves. But the tragedy is simple. The world often doesn't give that same gift back to them. People admire the funny one. They rely on them. They lean on them. They expect them to always lighten the mood. But they also forget to check on them, to ask deeper questions, to sit with their silence. Humor creates an illusion of resilience, even when the person behind it is breaking. There's a concept in psychology called the false self, a persona some builds to survive environments where the real self isn't accepted. For many people who laugh everything off, humor is exactly that. It's not fake, but it's not the whole truth. It's the safe version of them, the palatable version, the version that doesn't scare anyone. The world gets the mask, but the loneliness stays with the person wearing it. They become the one who gets overlooked in emotional conversation, the one people assume is fine, the one who comforts everyone but struggles to find comfort themselves. Because how do you suddenly switch from being the lighthearted one to admitting you've been hurting for years? It feels like breaking a role you never agreed to, but somehow became responsible for. In a world obsessed with confidence, performance, and curated happiness, humor becomes both a blessing and a burden. We live in a culture where people want entertainment more than honesty, where deep feelings make others uncomfortable, where the truth is too heavy. So it's easier to laugh than to listen. And so the ones who laugh everything off end up playing an unspoken role. They become the emotional filters of modern life, the ones who make pain easier to digest, the ones who make darkness feel less threatening, the ones who absorb tension so the room can breathe again. But this role, sacred as it is not meant to be armor forever, because identity is not something you perform, it's something you live. And if you always play the part people expect, you lose the person you actually are. Here's the deeper truth. Humor is a beautiful way of experiencing life, but it should not be the only way you're allowed to express yourself. You are not meant to be a character in other people's stories. You deserve relationships where you don't have to translate your pain into punchlines, where your sadness isn't minimized, where your vulnerability is not a disruption, but a doorway. And maybe the world doesn't understand this yet, but the fact that you exist a person who carries heaviness with grace is proof of the quiet resilience in the human heart. You are not weak for feeling deeply. You are not dramatic for wanting connection. You are not broken for needing space to be real. You are human, fully, wildly, profoundly human. So let me tell you something gently, the way you've always wished someone would speak to you. You don't have to laugh everything off. Not every feeling needs a punchline. Not every discomfort needs to be soothed by you. You're allowed to be honest. You're allowed to be messy. You're allowed to say, that hurt, without softening it with humor. You don't have to be the light all the time. You're allowed to rest in your own shadows. You're allowed to feel the things you've been swallowing for years. You don't have to entertain people to be worthy of love. You don't have to hide your pain to keep people close. The ones who are meant for you will stay even when you stop performing, even when you stop laughing through everything. And here's something else. Your laughter is beautiful. Your humor is precious. Your ability to find light in dark places is a gift. But you are allowed to receive that light too. It's not just something you give. It's something you deserve. You deserve to be seen in all your colors, not just the bright ones, not just the soft ones, not just the ones that make others comfortable. You deserve to be held the way you hold others, to be understood the way you understand them, to be heard without needing to make it funny first. You deserve depth. You deserve gentleness. You deserve company in your quiet moments, and you deserve to exist without turning everything into a joke. Being the one who laughs everything off doesn't mean you don't feel deeply. Sometimes it means you've been hurting quietly for a long time. You're not too sensitive. You're someone who learned to hide your softness with sound. You're not avoiding life. You're protecting a heart that feels the world too intensely. In a world full of noise, you are proof that even laughter can hold truth. And every time you let someone see you without the mask, you teach the world that even those who smile the brightest deserve to be understood.